Hey, welcome back to Budget with Bianca. I'm Bianca, and today we're going to do not a budget with me, but a video on how I use Ynab to help me plan for our travel. We have several trips coming up this year, and I thought it'd be a good idea on how to show people how I use personally Ynab to budget and also help plan our trips. Just to start off, this is not, an all-inclusive list. There's obviously a lot more ways that you could use YNAB to help you figure out what you want to spend and how you want to spend your money while you travel. But these are just the methods that I have either used or I know are available and would be helpful. So what you see in front of you is YNAB. That stands for You Need a Budget if you're new here. And it's not just for travel. You can see I have lots of things in here. You can watch any of my previous videos to see all the categories. I'll also link my the video where I go through all of my categories that I have and explain a little bit more in depth about them. But today we're just going to focus on the travel. So the first method, and the one that I primarily use, is what I call the one line item method. So I have an entire category group called travel, and then underneath I have all the trips that we're taking that calendar year, or that I know are coming up. I don't know of any trips that we have personally in 2026 as of yet. If I did, I would add them in as I know about them. So the one line item is just that, one line item for each trip that we're taking, and then everything is budgeted under that line item. So for example, I'll go to our September Banff trip. So I do use targets on everything. That helps me to know that I'm on track for everything. So I set up the have a balance. So if you are setting up a target, you would go to custom, put the amount you want, and then here, instead of set aside or fill up to, you would have a balance of, and then do on whatever day or month that you're traveling on. And underneath, I use the notes a lot. So you can see in real time the price of our Banff trip. So some things that we've already booked. So we've booked all of our lodging, and I have denoted that with our parentheses booked. Some of it we paid up front. Some of it we're paying in installments in Airbnb. I have we are traveling with friends. So there's 3 couples going. So I have a running total to make sure that I'm on track. I'm collecting all the payments because it's easy for me to keep track of it in YNAB. And so that just helps me to keep things in my mind. And then I have, budgeted for food, our car rental, plus how much gas we might need, the flights which we've booked and paid for. So that means we have, this is our grand total for the trip, and I always add about a 10% buffer. You could argue that you should probably do more, but I feel comfortable with that. I know we've traveled many times. We've already been to Banff, so I'm very comfortable with the prices. Looking things up. So I feel comfortable with the 10% buffer. So we need an estimated $1,448. So that's why I put $1,500. If we don't use that money, which we will use it, then I can roll it into the next travel trip or take it out of the travel category and put it to whatever else we need at the end of September or when we get back. So that is how I use line items. The other thing I will say, if we go back into a different month and we open up the September, you see we've spent quite a bit of money here. So this is what I'd budgeted for, for the total for the lodging, which a lot of this was the total, and then the couples that we're going with have paid me back. So this is not all the money that we have spent personally from our budget. It was split up 3 ways for everything. But you can see I use hashtags. So this United Travel Guard was our flight insurance. This is our car rental. So using hashtags is really helpful in your reporting. You can always go to the spending breakdown and look at it through here, which I won't do in this video, but just know that that's why I use the hashtag, so that I know how much I've spent on flights and things when I look back. And moving on, let's go. I have a test budget that I use. So don't mind all the uncategorized transactions. This is my real budget, a copy of it, but I just don't keep up with it, so it's not accurate. But I figured it's a good way to show you how to use the other types. So instead of doing one line item, Ynab has templates that you could use. But if you don't want to do that, you could make your own. Create a category group, and let's just say we want to go to Italy because I love Italy and I'd love to go there again. So I'm going to create a group. So by using this plus, and then right next to it, we're going to add a category. So what are the things that I know I need to spend money on in Italy? Well, I need to get to Italy and then live in America, so we need to fly there. So we're going to do flights. We're going to do accommodations. And I know I spelled that wrong. Sorry, I'm not very good at spelling. What else? And if you see me looking over here, I have my phone with notes so that I can remember. We're going to do transit, so like the train between the different cities that I plan to go to. We're going to do food, and we're going to do a rental car plus gas. Activities. Oops. Souvenirs and treats. And one thing that I will note is that I wish I had planned for our Banff trip was accounting for gear that we would need before the trip. So specifically for that trip, we are going hiking with our, she'll be like 19-month-old daughter, and so we'll need a backpack carrier. So I wish I had kind of rolled that into it. I'm just going to put it under baby supplies or something like that, but that's something to think about. So if you know you are going on a specific trip, like a ski trip, and you need to rent skis, well, you should probably account for that in your budget for the trip. And so, this is a very generic list of things. There's a lot that can go under each one, especially like activities. So museums or tours that you want to take, things like that. You can obviously break it down even further. So if you instead want activities, you want tours that need tickets to be bought ahead of time, you could break it down by day even. So what you plan on doing that day. And you can just have a header as a category if you would like to separate things out like that. And then once you have all your categories built in, like I said, I always love to use targets. So to do that, you would just click on the category. It will come up with this target window. So we're going to create a target. And instead of a monthly, you're pretty much always going to use custom. And let's just say that, the flights will be $1,200. I'm just making up numbers here. And you want to have a balance of by a date. So you're going in 2027, but you need to buy those tickets probably in, let's say, January of 2026, and you're going in May of 2026. You could even do it earlier. So you could do have that by November of 2025 to be able to save that money by. So it's going to tell you that starting today, whatever day you make this target, you will need $109.10 or whatever that calculation is to save by the month that you want to purchase it. And so I'm just going to go and do this for the rest of my Italy trip, and I will meet you back here. Okay, so as you can see, I've created targets for everything. And so to see what you would need total for the trip, you would click on the entire category. And I'm just going to move myself out of the way. And you would see total for the month you would need to save $442. If that is reasonable for you, then that's great. Then you will have enough money to go on your trip. If that's not reasonable for you and that's too much money to save each month, well, then if you haven't yet booked a year, the month in the year that you want to go, maybe consider pushing that out a little bit. Or you can see if you can find cheaper things. Do you really need to go on every single museum tour in Rome? I mean, I think you should, but you don't have to. So it's just some things to think about there. So that is how you could plan a trip and just make your own categories as needed. But like I mentioned, YNAB actually has a really awesome function that they've created, and it's called YNAB Templates. So if you head over to the YNAB website, if you just Google YNAB Templates, this is the website that comes up. And you can see a lot of different templates exist here. So Nick True has his starter templates and a value-based template. There's non-monthly. Um, there's a lot of different ones. So go explore. But I'm going to pick this travel one. And you're going to see this is what the template looks like. So it has, all of them have this README about the template. And then this is the categories that will be put into your budget. So if you click on use this template, it will open up your template and tell you to paste them in there. Yep, so this is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to just quickly go back to my test budget because I have them right here. So there's this README. And so if you go to the README, move myself back up here, you will see that in the notes section, it says this template is based on a week-long spring break with the U.S. Within the U.S. for a family of 4 with a trip budget of $6,500. It assumes flight costs of $300 to $500 per person and a mid-priced hotel, and you can update the categories as you wish. So then I would just go ahead and delete this really quick. You don't need that. And what you're left with is the vacation. So it has everything populated in there. It has the targets. The only thing that you would have to do is note how it says eventually. You would just have to edit the target and say when it's due by. So let's say we're going to this trip in May of 2026. And so now it will give you what you need to assign that month. So you'll need to go through and do this with all of the different categories here. Let's just say that you also need to add on so that gear items that you need to purchase before the trip. So you can add that on, add the emoji that you want. You can move it around. We're just going to go put it right here and create a target. So let's say you need something that's $150. We're going to go custom, have a balance of, and I want to purchase this in, let's say, December of 2025. It's about 6 months before the trip. So I would need to save $15. And so that's a great way to use YNAB templates and to make sure that you are saving for everything. So, and of course, you can go in and adjust the targets for each one. So let's say you know that for us, pet sitting is $20 a day where we do it. And so if we're going for a week, that would be, 20 times, let's say 8, because I drop them off the day before usually. So that would be $160. So that's what I would need to save. That is the way that I use YNAB and how you can use YNAB to help plan your travel, your budget, and the things you will need to account for. The other thing that I always have is a travel itinerary. I do that in Google Sheets. I share it with the people that are coming with us on the trip. So I've pulled out, this is a real itinerary that we had for Banff when we went in 2022. So you can see I have times, I have details for each event. And so this is actually where I start off by planning our travel, and that actually translates into YNAB. So for example, this is our flight. So we have to leave from the airport, so that needs to go into YNAB. So how much do we need for flights? And then, so an activity on Bow Lake, we wanted to do canoeing. So how much was that going to cost? Well, you just look it up on the website, add it to your list. And so that's how I plan our travel and how YNAB helps me stay organized and on budget. If you have any other questions, I would love to know if I can help further for anyone that's planning trips in the future and using YNAB. And I will see you next time for the next video. Bye.